The idea that people feel like they have to have a certain level in order to survive is going to be a huge motivator on the type of job that they are going for.
Originating from deep inside the Rocky Mountains, transported through the power of the internet, and arriving inside your tiny earbuds. It's the Appraiser Coach Podcast, helping appraisers increase their efficiency, quality, and make more money. Here's the guy who makes it his life's mission to create value for real estate appraisers nationwide. Your host and the Appraiser Coach, Dustin Harris.
You all know that I've hired multiple people over the years. I sat down and tried to think about how many people I have hired over. It's been about a dozen, maybe 13 years ago is when I hired my first individual. And keep in mind, I had already been in business a dozen years to begin with. I've been in business 25 years. It took me 12 years to figure out the law of delegation. And once I did, it took some failings. It took some ups and downs. But once I finally caught on to what this could do for my success in my business and my life in general, that has been a motivating principle that I've utilized for many, many years. But there's been a lot of learning that's come with that. And one of the questions that I get asked on a regular basis is about pay. And I want to talk today specifically about hourly pay, salary pay, commission-based pay, and how you know which one will be the best for the situation that you find yourself in. I want to pause here first and remind you that we are sponsored by three great companies, OREP Insurance being one of them. OREP is my E&O. Folks, it's my E&O because I know I can count on them. I've utilized them. I've reached out to them when I've had some negative things come my way, and they've always been there, and they've always supported me, and they will be there for you as well. You can find out more by going to orep.org. That's OREP.org. Datamaster is saving me time. It can save you time, saves you money, because it does the work for you, folks. Check them out. If you've not looked at their demo, you need to go to their website, datamasterusa.com. Again, it's datamasterusa.com. And finally, we're sponsored by Alamode Software. I wouldn't be anywhere else, folks. It was what my dad used. It's what I've used. I've used others, and I keep coming back to one leader, and that is Alamode, alamode.com or 800-ALAMODE. All right, folks, I want to talk a little bit about hiring, firing, but mostly about compensation. The question I get asked on a pretty regular basis in my coaching in the Dream Team, at the All-Star Team, is how do you know when you need to move individuals from hourly to salary? How do you know when you should motivate based on commission? How do you know that you should motivate with benefits and with bonuses? Folks, it is a challenging thing, and there are multiple fields of study on this type of thing, right? What does the employees in your life, what motivates them? Right? And this is a challenge for each of us to understand, because it makes all the difference in the world. One of the things I've shared with you on this program in the past, and I'll reiterate it here, most people think that most individuals, workers specifically, employees, are motivated by money. And they are. They are to a certain level. There are studies out there that show that you have to meet a certain threshold when it comes to money in order for people to feel comfortable and loyal moving forward. So this idea that money doesn't matter is a joke. Of course it matters. There's been multiple experiences we've seen historically that when you put everybody's salary exactly the same, that motivation goes down. In other words, there needs to be that motivation. Human nature is that we are motivated to move forward. And sometimes that includes, it has to include money, because money moves the world. Money allows you to pay your bills. Money allows you to put gas in your car and drive to that next appointment, right? Money is a real thing. And to discount and say, oh, money's not that big of a deal. Money doesn't motivate me. Sure it does. Now, it may not motivate you like it motivates other people, but everyone must be at a certain level, a certain base in order to survive. Now, that base might be different for each and every one of us because we each have a certain threshold. We have a threshold of what we can sustain based on our emotional state. And that might be $2,000 a month. That might be $10,000 a month, depending on what you're used to. Now, that doesn't mean you can't survive on lower, but let's put it this way, folks. If you, for whatever reason, stopped appraising today and had to move to that next thing, my guess is it wouldn't be flipping burgers at Burger King. Now, you might enjoy flipping burgers at Burger King, but you're used to a certain lifestyle that flipping burgers at Burger King and the pay that comes with it doesn't fit that threshold. My point is studies show that once you hit that threshold, the motivation beyond that is beyond money. Meaning, let's say that your threshold is Let's just throw out a number, $5,000 a month. Dustin, I need $5,000 a month as my base, my threshold, and all of my quote-unquote needs are met. I'm able to pay my mortgage. I'm able to pay my car payment. I'm able to put gas in my car and food on my table. I'm able to have a little insurance for healthcare. I'm able to do the things that I need to do and even maybe play a little bit on the weekends, right? That's my threshold. Now, I'm not living luxuriously at $5,000 a month, but that's my threshold. Beyond that, studies show that yes, money is still kind of a motivator, but it's not the motivator that you would think. People are motivated to get to their threshold, and beyond that, it's about childcare, it's about work environment, it's about their supervisor, it's about days off, it's about the ability to work from home. I mean, I could go on and on and on about what motivates people. And as an employer, you need to understand that people are motivated by different things. Why is that important? Because it will allow you to decide as an employer whether or not you can meet that threshold. And folks, with different people comes a different threshold. For example, if I hire somebody to answer my phones, I might be paying them $10 to $12 an hour in Idaho. That's pretty typical. In fact, that's actually probably high. But when it comes to appraisers who have put in the time, the blood, sweat, and tears in order to be appraisers, they have that license, they have that experience, right? They have something that is akin to a profession. They're going to be expected, or they will expect to be paid higher than somebody answering the phones. The amount of time that they spend might be the same as somebody answering the phones, but what they bring to the table is much, much different. You've probably heard or seen the meme floating around Facebook. It's a story that I used to tell in my coaching years ago, so it's been out there a long time. And it's basically about this ship that the engine won't go. And it's a huge ship. And they spend days and days and days trying to fix this thing. They finally call in an expert. The expert shows up with his tool bag. He walks right to a certain area. He takes out a ball peen hammer. He hits the engine. All of a sudden, it fires up. Next thing you know, he gives them a bill for $1,000. And they say, wait a second, you were here like 5 minutes. And so he gave them an itemized bill. And he said $1 to hit the engine, $999 to know where to hit the engine. Right? I love the story because I think it's perfect, right? Some people, we walk through their homes and we spend 25 minutes on an inspection, and you've heard it before. It's like, that's it? How much am I paying for this, right? And this is all they see. This is all the vision that they see. But the idea of people come to the table with a certain skill set and a certain ability has to play into this idea of motivation, right? And in my business, different levels do different things. I'm going to talk about what that looks like. And I'm going to talk about how you know where to put people where they need to be. But I want to do that after the break. I want to first pause here and remind you we are sponsored by 3 great companies, one of them being OREP Insurance. OREP, of course, is the insurance that I have been using for years because they got my back, folks. On several occasions, I have utilized OREP Insurance. They have helped me with state board complaints. By the way, not typically something an E&O company will do, but OREP does. Benefits as far as continuing education that can actually count toward your CE credits for free. I'm talking 14 hours of free CE. What is that worth? Folks, that's half your premium right there. That's the type of company this is. OREP Insurance, OREP.org. That's OREP.org. Alamode is the software that I'm using right now. It helps me to do more. Folks, talk about being efficient at what you do. How would you like to have the leader in the industry that also has the mobile version that allows you to collect everything on site? Folks, this saves me at least 35 minutes per report because I gather everything in the field. I don't have to redo it when I get back to the office or pay somebody else to redo it. Folks, Alamode is where it's at. If you're with any other company, please consider changing. I know change is hard. It's worth it. Alamode.com or 800-ALAMODE. And finally, we're sponsored by DataMaster. Speaking of change and thinking about change that will really, really bless your life, talk about saving time and saving money. DataMaster will do it for you because it takes the information that you already have chosen yourself. It doesn't choose the information. People get confused by that. Well, I don't want some black box choosing my comps. No, folks, it doesn't choose your comps. It takes the comps that you chose and it puts them in your form so you can now do your job. Folks, it is absolutely insanely cool. DatamasterUSA.com, DatamasterUSA.com. Welcome back to the program. We are talking today about motivation. We're talking today about compensation. One of the questions that I get on a pretty regular basis as a coach is, how do I know, Dustin, how much to give my employees? How do I know whether they are an hourly employee versus a salary employee? How do I know if I should have them on commission? Now, there's a whole other podcast out there where I talked about W-4 versus W-9. How do you know if they're an employee versus a contractor. Okay, so we're not going to get into that right now. We're just talking about compensation. Let's say you've already figured out the legal side of things, whether they should be a contractor or an employee. And now you're on to how much do I pay them? Well, let's talk about it. Let's break it down. Again, I set it up today by talking about the threshold. People expect a certain threshold, right? Some people call this a living wage. Now, I don't want to get political here, right? But the idea that people feel like they have to have a certain level in order to survive is going to be a huge motivator on the type of job that they are going for. And the individual that's going to answer your phones is going to be a different type of individual that might do something else. And you have to pay them accordingly. One of the best tools that I have found for understanding what it is that people are motivated by is to simply pick up the phone and to call a temp service. You know what I'm talking about. These are companies locally that if you need somebody to help you lick stamps for two weeks, you can go to this company and say, I need somebody, and they can provide the labor, right? Call a temp company and ask them, hey, I'm looking at possibly hiring a receptionist. This receptionist would be full-time. What is the typical salary in this area for that? They will tell you. Now, I am one that's going to try to pay a little more. If somebody says that the typical salary for a receptionist is about $10 an hour in our area, I'm going to advertise for 12 to 14. Now, there's a principle there, right? I don't want them constantly being looking over their shoulder for the next big thing. But understanding the type of work that you have, and by the way, this also goes to your virtual assistants, understanding what their cost of living is, understanding that they have a threshold to meet as well. You need to understand the particular country that you're dealing with. I just hired a couple of new people in a country that I've never hired before, Central America, and I've had to learn a whole new set of motivating factors. Right? What motivates people in this particular country, and what is typical for pay for this type of work in that country. Right? And then we deal with the commission side. I am of the motivation or of the understanding that what I call the tier 1, tier 2 level work is typically an hourly pay. And that can be based on, again, what is typical for the area. So if you're doing basic data entry, research, answering phones, emails, sifting through data, that to me is a tier 1 versus or a tier 2 level work. And thus I pay accordingly. In Idaho, again, that's anywhere from about $10 an hour. Well, it's really minimum wage, which is still $7.25 in Idaho, believe it or not. But anywhere from about $8 to $10 an hour is typical for that work in our area. I pay typically start people at 10 and move them to 12, maybe higher if they've been with me a long time. And that is an hourly type of work, meaning if you're at work, you get paid. If you're not, you're not, right? Do I give you Fridays off if you want them off? Sure. But you're not getting paid for Friday because you're off. Then we move to the next level, the tier 4 level. I know I skipped over tier 3. Stick with me. We'll go back to it. Tier 4 is management. Tier 4 is office management, right? Tier 4 is the operations management. Tier 4 is the individual that makes sure that the office is running smoothly. They are a supervisor. They deal with time off. They deal with so-and-so isn't doing their job. They deal with this report is running late, what we need to do to motivate the individual to get it done. That is the operations manager or the office manager. That to me is a salary position. So back to the question, how do you know when you move someone from hourly to salary? Well, you get there because you know they can govern themselves. You know that salary position is going to be answered in honesty and integrity because they've been with you hourly and they've proven themselves, right? How much is that? Well, again, it depends on your area. That might be $40,000 a year. It might be $50,000 a year. It might be $20,000 a year. It depends on your area, but salary is this idea that they're not counting every minute, but in general, they're still giving you a full-time work for full-time pay. That's salary. All right, let's go back to tier 3. Tier 3, of course, is the appraiser. This is the individual that hit the engine in just the right place, right? This is the individual that knows what they're doing. This is the individual that has a license, that has a certification, that has E&O to back them up, and by the way, it's OREP, that has the expertise and the knowledge to do what they do, that has the local market knowledge. And this individual is a professional. Folks, that type of individual needs to be commission-based. Why? Because that's going to be the motive. And by the way, it needs to be high commission. The more you produce, the more you make. How do I know that? Because I've been doing this for 13 years, folks. And I've had every position in every type of salary or hourly or commission. And I'm telling you, this is how it works. Tier 1, Tier 2, hourly. Tier 4, again, that's the office manager, salary. Tier 3, that's your commission people. Folks, if you wanted to learn more about my pay structure, in fact, I got tools in my what we call the membership library. The membership library is files upon files upon files of things that I use. Contracts, worksheets, pay cards, you name it, what you need to do, tools you need to run a better, successful business in the All-Star team. It's all part of your membership, folks. It doesn't cost you any more to access the membership library. It's all there for your use. You can find out more at theappraisercoach.com/memberships. It's theappraisercoach.com/memberships.
You've been listening to the Appraiser Coach podcast with Dustin Harris. If you like what you hear, please give us a 5-star rating and post a short review on iTunes. For more in-depth insider information on how you can make more money as a real estate appraiser, visit theappraisercoach.com and sign up for the All-Star team today. Thanks for joining us. And now, get out there and create some value.